So semantic versioning is this, like when you see like, there's, 5.0.5. So in this, it's called semver for short. In the world of semver, those numbers have very distinct meanings. So the first number is a major version. So, when you increment from 5 to 6, like that's likely to have all kinds of breaking changes. The UI could be very different. Like, it's a pretty drastic change. When you went from 5.0.5 to 5.1.0 or something, like if you change that second number, there could be new APIs or like changes to the UI or whatever, but they shouldn't be breaking changes. Like it shouldn't break anything that's existing. And then if you're going that third number, so 5.0.5 to 5.0.6, that last number should just be patches of no new functionality at all, but just like fixing bugs and that kind of thing, making things kind of work as intended. So when everybody's following semantic versioning really closely, you can be very confident about upgrading stuff within a certain range. So like if you look in like package.json, there are different ways that you can specify either an exact version of a dependency or a range of like either major, minor, or patch versions of your dependencies and stuff to kind of have some control over it. So anyway, so yeah, semantic versioning is a whole thing into itself. That's why I'm surprised that going from 5.0.2 of Zoom to 5.0.5 of Zoom might completely change the interface. That doesn't sound like the kind of change that you'd make in a patch version. So
yeah. I know a couple of weeks back, they wouldn't even let me join a Zoom call. They're like, you need to update. So I might have been like really far behind.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea what version I was on. They're like, no, it's been too long.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they probably found some security vulnerability, and they're like don't want to be on the hook for somebody getting pwned.
Yeah, that was my thought. Maybe due to the increase in popularity with like stay at home and things like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. Well, after that little lesson on semantic versioning, do we want to let's go through demos, and then got some interesting stuff to talk about with the retro, very different format than kind of what we've done in the past. So I guess actually so for the demos, like on my team, we do demos every couple of weeks, but it's really a sprint review. And so part of that is demos. Part of that is sort of talking about the state of the project. So in our case, we have a product manager and a designer, and we have other stakeholders who they're interested in what the state of the software is. So the product manager usually opens up those meetings by sort of talking about over the last 2 weeks the thing we were trying to get accomplished is this, and we kind of got this far on it and that kind of thing. And in those meetings, I usually share. I forgot, I ran out of time. I was going to actually log into our Jira instance and show you our control chart from work, because it's much better than the I said like the poor man's version that I put together today, just a little spreadsheet. But it basically does the same thing. But anyway, showing sort of like the effectiveness of our Kanban process over the like kind of whatever period. So those things are all kind of the lead up to the actual demo of the work. So what I might do, putting on my product owner hat here, is I have a question for the group. So I'm going to share here. So we see that there are 2 issues in review. We also see that there are 4 open PRs.
Yeah, I was trying to look at that earlier. Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Yeah, doesn't match up.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, I mean, it's totally valid to have, an issue could have multiple PRs that kind of build up to satisfy all the AC. And I think that's kind of the case with one of these, right? 2 of the PRs. There was a PR for the first like 5 of the AC on one of the things, and then there's another PR for the other remaining.
Yeah.
But yeah, something I don't know. I mean, it might be totally valid. I just want to kind of throw it out to the group. Like, is that kind of what you would expect to see? these two things in peer review. None of these are in draft, so theoretically that means they should be in peer review or mentor review, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a few things got a little bit muddled. The panning issue was essentially finished and probably could have been merged to master, but I think we were waiting on your review. I think what happened is I think both pairs started new PRs having not finished the last PR kind of as such. So maybe we should have merged those and then moved on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing. Probably if PRs are in progress for new issues, those issues probably need to be dragged over too. So I guess this one's assigned, right? So it's in progress.
Yeah, it's done.
Let's move that one. It's done.
It's in review. Sorry. Yeah. Matthew reviewed that yesterday. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else over here that should be in progress? I guess not. This one's not yet started, right? Using the delay to set the frequency of fetches.
I don't think so. I think one of the ones that is closed, though, the pending promise one, should be moved back to in progress, because it's the one that I made the comment on about adding a new package. I think it's whatever the number 5 one.
So that should be in progress or in review?
I think it's in, because we're going to go ahead and try to use that tracking promise package instead, I think.
Oh, okay, so you're going to do some more work on it. I think
it's going to be rewritten. I think we'll change it back to a draft and maybe, yeah.
So has there been work that's been merged to kind of finish this one?
No, it was never merged because it was waiting on the AC where the pins would reload to actually test to see if it worked or not. And that's how the whole fiasco from the other day happened, because I was trying to test this PR and then master doesn't actually fetch the pins automatically. It's actually in the AC the PR for the panning.
Okay, I'm just going to reopen these two since they're not, neither of them are actually done. Is this the correct configuration? Is there anything that's in peer review that should be, like you said, there was something like the panning, we're only waiting for my review, so that sounds to me like it should be a mentor review. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Or is that right? Okay.
Yeah. They're probably all mentor review, I think.
Please.
Yeah. Okay. I thought, let's see, and I lose track sometimes of which PRs match up with which issues. So
there's a lot open at the moment, in fairness. So.
Yeah, exactly. So if we can in both places refer to the thing that the other thing. So in the issue refer to the PR, and in the PR refer to the issue. And I think we do that most of the time, but maybe not all the time.
Okay. I didn't know you could do that in the issue, so you can actually fetch the PR there as well. Okay, I didn't know you could do that.
If you expand it though, it shows the linked pull request, right? So if you expand,
go to the full
it's
issue.
It's at the very bottom just now too. So if you go on the side, the linked pull request is there. Linked pull requests.
Oh, this one. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Okay, cool. Oh, that's because you set it to close.
We said it closes that, yeah.
Okay, so it puts the links in there. All right, cool. So part of the reason it's important to have the state of the board sort of reflect reality is now that these are all one thing is that now that these are all in mentor review, I'm like, oh, it's very clear I'm the bottleneck here, so that's good. The other thing is that, so I don't know if y'all looked at this already, but there's this, I put a link to this in the thread in the channel. But these numbers, so let's see, how do I want to say this? like in Kanban, as a team, you know, we try to sort of right size our issues to, you know, fit into a certain number of hours. The way that we measure that is by, you know, basically like, do we get the thing done in a certain number of days or something? So, you know, if we're talking about, you know, it needs to be around 6 hours of, you know, kind of person time, that translates into roughly a week of time for us, the way we're, you know, kind of with the expectations of what we're doing. So, you know, we should expect to see most of our issues have, you know, kind of a number of days around 7. These are only as accurate as, you know, as like the dates that we move these things around. Because, you know, all I did to come up with these dates is look at the issues and just, well, let me look at one that's closed. So, you know, just kind of go into the issue and look at, you know, this was moved to in progress on May 10th, and then it was closed 24 days ago, which is, I just wish they would say it in absolute dates. But anyway, so that's how I came up with the dates that feed into that thing, and that's how we kind of measure, you know, if we're sort of hitting our targets for, you know, right sizing and all that stuff. So, you know, sort of to contribute to the cleanness of our data and like the accuracy of our data, just, you know, kind of always make sure those cards are in the right column as you're working. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So this isn't actually a chart because I couldn't figure out how to do charts in Google Sheets in the like time that I had today. But the things that are important here, there's you know, we use Jira at work, and it has really fancy reporting tools and stuff. And so the control chart that we look at work has, you know, it has all the like individual issues as dots on a graph. It has, you know, sort of trend lines for the average number of days, you know, across, you know, the time period. And then it has a standard deviation as well. So, you know, you might have an average, like for us, what we're shooting for is 3 days for each issue. We might have an average that's, you know, 3.5 days, but our standard deviation might be like way all over the place because we had, you know, like 5 issues that we closed almost immediately, and then, you know, 3 or 4 that dragged on for weeks. And that still comes out to an average of 3 days, but that's not ideal. We want everything to kind of be close to 3 days in time, like 2 to 3 days. So that control chart helps us kind of understand, you know, are we doing the right things when we're grooming and kind of, you know, planning and all that kind of stuff? And then is it working out? Like in Kanban, the whole concept is that you have all these these things that are all roughly the same size, and you're able to kind of keep them flowing through the chart like a river of work. So you don't have bottlenecks, and you kind of, you know, it becomes very predictable if you do it well. So what we learned by looking at our own numbers is, you know, we're kind of shooting for the 7-day mark, I would guess, because that's, you know, like sort of how the project is structured. We've had a couple of issues that I would say are kind of outside even like the kind of regular standard deviation, but I don't actually know if these dates reflect what really happened with the ticket. You know what I mean? Like 14 days, it just sounds like somebody forgot to move to done. Probably me. We had this one that closed in 4, so that brings the average down a little bit. But anyway, our average is 8.125, which isn't too far off from the 7 that we are kind of shooting for. But it'd be kind of cool. You know, we have quite a bit of work left to do, and actually I'll need to update this now that we've moved some things back from done. Be kind of cool to see if we could get our average down maybe under 7 days or something for the rest of the project, right? Like we have several things we you know, several things left to do, and if we can get those, like kind of part of that would be to sort of right size what's left so that we know that we can hit it in comfortably within a week, and then, you know, so we might actually be creating more individual issues, but each one of them is a little more bite-sized, right? But, you know, if we could kind of, you know, if we keep that number in mind, that average, and we, you know, approach our grooming that we're going to do after demos and stuff with that in mind, then maybe we can affect that number and see if we can bring it down a little bit. So that's all the non-demo stuff that we usually do in a sprint review. Not sprint review. It's not sprints because it's not Scrum, but in a our biweekly sprint, not sprint, our biweekly update on the project status. All right, cool. So the board now reflects reality, correct?
So
Uh-huh.
what's number 5 there again? The fetch places based on the user's location. I feel like that's done, is it not?
It's
It
it's the
was
one with the
done.
promise
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
with the pins. And that's
Okay.
what started the whole conversation yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of missed that whole story. What were you in master and it wasn't panning, was it, or something? And the second set of pins weren't working.
Master
first-
just doesn't work. The panning doesn't work, and also it doesn't grab pins when you pan. So
That's because we
Yeah.
hadn't merged the order in. We hadn't. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry, I was at
Yeah.
work and I like, what is going on?
Yeah, master's not broken. We just hadn't merged that in yet. And I was just confused because I think we had demoed locally. We had demoed the fact that you could pan around and see pins. So I just had it in my mind that it was working. It was done. So
I think we were waiting on that dot was still kind of jumping around. We still hadn't figured that out. So that's why we didn't merge it. But yeah, I think that was
yeah. So that's a really good point. So this is maybe something we could talk about in the retro part that we get to. But if we get down to, like, we've got most of the things done, but there's this one thing that's kind of sticky. We're not sure how to do it. We can close the issue that's there, take that one thing, and then move it out into its own issue. And merge the PR and kind of get, it's in a state where it's definitely offering value to the user, right? Like it's better than it was. You can pan around and get pins. I mean, it's like core functionality. And the fact that the center jumps around is an improvement we could make later. So that'd be kind of my recommendation for where things are at right now, is like, let's get the panning working. Like, let's get that into the app, and then we'll just make a new issue where we fix that.
I think as well, we merged, so we broke that issue into 2 places, and we merged the first one, and some of that code was wrong, because I was looking at it in app.js. We still had this idea of myself and Amber created like on position change or something, and that's now in master and it shouldn't be. So we probably should have cleaned up our code a little bit more before we merged. Sorry, that was me. So yeah, we just need to clean up a few things.
Okay. On position change is not something that we want?
No, doesn't exist.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop sharing now and let y'all share sort of work from this last week. If there's anything kind of ready to share, I know it looks like most of the stuff is waiting for me to review it.
Does anyone have a preference on who wants to go first? Nope. Okay. Let's go, Aisling.
We can go. Yeah. This update for me is very strange. I can, I literally only seeing Matt now. It's weird. I don't know what's going on.
I'm afraid to upgrade.
I didn't upgrade though. I don't know what happened.
Oh.
Oh well. Okay, so are we doing the videos, Jen?
Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did very differently, I think, to what was actually written down, but I think we got the same effect.
So what is it?
So that's number 11,
here.
right?
It's this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Code issue. Yeah, so we have in the footer should appear some text prompting the user to add the app to their home screen, and then adding the 2 videos basically to just so the user can see them. Originally they were going to be, I think, 2 buttons.
Yeah.
But then Aisling made a good point that it makes it look a little bit cluttered, and so we created 1 button instead, and then it opens up a modal that has collapsible. What do you call that? Collapsible divs.
Accordion.
Yeah. So we can click here, and then you'll see these 2 options, and then you can click, and it opens. Can't really scroll right now. That's a one CSS issue that we haven't resolved yet. And then either one you can click open and then you can put in the video if you'd like.
Actually, doesn't look bad in iPhone view. It's not great on like laptop view, but that's why we didn't do any CSS because we were like waiting to see if you guys like the functionality of it first.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't look bad there now on the iPhone X though.
Not terrible, but could be
Not terrible.
better.
Yeah, just need to get it to fit within the bounds.
Yeah.
You might be able to
video
save some space by taking out that header. Just have the two buttons. That'll give you a little bit more space, you know.
The header.
So on the modal itself.
Oh,
Yeah,
where you
the
just
videos.
make the header go away?
Yeah, or just not even have the header.
Yeah, it's actually kind of brilliant, to be honest.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying.
That'll bring everything up just a little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same modal as used in the settings?
Yeah, basically. Using
Okay.
the same CSS. It just uses the same class name.
Yeah, we used all of the code. It's very nice.
Yeah. Then do you want to go ahead and explain the code, Ashley?
Yeah, basically, Matthew created the settings modal and it was really nice. So I basically just took that idea and applied it here. And I think the biggest bulk of the work was like initially just like how to use materialize and just like refreshing our minds a bit on that. And neither of us had experience with this idea of the collapsible accordion, so we were just playing around with that and just how to make it look kind of nice, really. But yeah, it was actually fine because like we had the videos, we had the idea of the model and how to apply it. So I think originally we had implemented materialize in the whole of the app. I think did we apply it in index.html?
Yeah, we applied it in the HTML template that React uses. This looks really hacky. I'm not 100% happy with this by putting the materialize inside this actual component to utilize the functionality of the accordion. It's really hacky in my opinion, and there's probably a better way to do it. But we wanted to prevent completely changing the styling of the whole app because it was kind of overriding our app.css. And it's very odd. The packages here don't actually have the materialize locally. I'll have to look at the React materialize package again on how to actually just install the package, and so that the import can be there with the app.css one, so we can put the app.css below it, and then app.css will have precedence. But we just weren't able to figure that out. So we just stuck this in instead for right now until we can figure out the CSS issue.
I haven't worked with Materialize, but do they have the ability to kind of pick and choose what things you want to pull into your project? Like, could you have the package installed, but then just pull in this collapsible thing or whatever, and it would only pull in CSS for that?
Well, they have the React templates for them using this like React materialize package, but to actually utilize these, I think the underlying return statements use the CSS class names to actually render the things. And so if you don't have the CDN or just the CSS in there, it doesn't work. Like if I comment this out and I save it, it's just like that. Yeah, it doesn't work. So I can try to look that up. That's a good idea. But in the meantime, this is what we did.
Yeah.
Just to demonstrate, if we do like this functionality, then it was worth exploring to try and get materialize to gel well with our CSS. Otherwise, we wanted to get everyone's opinions. If they didn't like the styling, then we would have just made something else manually without using materialize.
I think it's cool. I like it. It'd be interesting to try and do it without bringing in all of materialize. So, unless we want to go back and like style other things in the app with materialize too, like kind of convert the app to a materialize app. In which case, that's great.
Well, that's what we did last year. It worked quite well for us, I think. Yeah, I I'd be inclined to do that just because I think trying to recreate that yourself with CSS could be challenging.
Like I did notice that materialize moves the close button, like, and it's not aligned it the way it's
Yeah,
supposed to.
if you put it in the index.html, also the share location button gets just like huge, and like there's a bunch of other things. It gets real wonky. I think like all the styling for the divs in here for the images gets all weird too. So
yeah, we also worked on the welcome homes screen, but we moved the center on me into header, and that's why it wasn't working. So we need to fix that as well this week.
okay, yeah.
Okay, so what's left for this is to like kind of finish the styling, maybe take that header out, see a little more room in there in that modal.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, it is pretty hacky to have that link.
Yeah, I know.
Because that'll show up in the body of the page, right? Which I don't know if that's legal, if that's valid HTML. Yeah.
Yeah, when I did it, I was like, this feels very wrong. But
yeah,
this is just for the demo. We'll see. We'll fix it later.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Those good instincts. Looks cool though. I like the effect. Nice. All right. Cool. Good work.
Yep.
Yes. Do you want to bring ours up, Amber?
Sure.
That's funny because when I first saw it linked in there, I'm like, oh, that's a clever workaround.
Okay. Which way do you want me to start? Code or app?
We could start with the app.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
So ours is relatively simple in terms of what you see. So we just added to the settings modal. So when you click it, originally it just had the header and the button in there, and so we added the description and the range slider, plus like the icons, and then we corresponded the number on the bottom there to correspond with where the slider is in terms of what value it's currently on. We were interested in kind of doing it like you did, where you had the number on top, but we just didn't get that far yet. So we thought this was at least a good spot, and then if later in the app we wanted to expand on that, that would be an option.
Yeah, for sure. Does it persist? I don't know if this was an AC or not. Does it persist the value between kind of app loads? So like if the person sets it to 25 and you refresh, would it be 25 again?
I would guess no, but let's see. Oh, just kidding. I think it's because we have it saved in local storage, this value.
Okay, good. And it's reading it out of local storage when it creates the... Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's great.
Just kidding.
Awesome.
Crushing it. Didn't know. All right, cool.
Good job.
This always gets in the way. Get out of here. Okay.
Yeah, so that was part of the late addition, because we actually both forgot about the entire local storage discussion. So yeah, that was one of the very last things we did. But yeah, what did we do here? So let's see, do you want to scroll? I guess where we kind of started was that modal range container there. So we brought in, you scroll a little bit further down, we brought in the input type range.
Yeah, there you go.
And so that right out the box gave us the slider, which was really helpful. And then a lot of the ACs, like increments of 5, was just the step 5, the min max ranges. So a lot of it was pretty straightforward. It was just researching what props or options or whatever you had to pass in there. And then the description I used as a label element to try to make those correspond a bit more semantically. Let's see. And then, yeah, one thing that we struggled with was getting the icons to be the correct size. Originally, they wanted to stretch one way or the other. And so that took a little bit of manipulation. But yeah, we finally got those with the, and then you added the suggestion for to wrap the images inside a figure for accessibility. So that was a great idea. And then yeah, I guess one of the last parts was the function that we put. So like the on slider changed, and so that essentially takes the value that it's on, and then sets that into state. So when this first loads, it either grabs what's in local storage, or it grabs the default value that we set to 15. Mm-hmm. And so that default value is where it it'll default load, so right in the middle. And then once you start moving it around, then it uses that use effect to look out for the slider value changed, and that'll store it, and that's what gets pulled down and put inside the range slider. And I think that was kind of the, yeah.
Unless besides the CSS, this was pretty much it.
Yeah. What did you have to do for those images? What was the fix?
What did I do?
I think did you just like put them in their own container and use Flex somehow, like kind of make them 100%? Trying to see. No, you gave them a set.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, wrapping them, like targeting the images with size, but then also targeting. Because originally they were spans, and then we changed it to figure. So I've noticed that with images, a lot of the times it's helpful to wrap them with something and style that thing as opposed to the image itself. It gives a bit more control.
What am I doing? Close.
I think if you scroll down a bit more, yeah, it's the modal range pick container, then modal range pick for the adjust the images there.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So there's
set with.
Yeah, there's some like a little hacky manipulation. Like I added a slider walker to make it, because they were all originally aligning to the left, but that last one needed to go to the right. So there's a couple
nice
specific targeting there. Yeah.
Cool. Very nice. Any questions from Jen or Ashley? No? Does it all make sense? Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think the figure, I hadn't heard of that before. It kind of used for like more like smaller images. Kind of, is that the idea of it?
No, it's a generic container for, like, it's a way to give a container to like an image and a caption usually.
Okay.
Or you could have several images, and it's kind of like put them into. It's like this is a semantic container for this.
Very good.
Yep.
Yeah, there were a lot of little things from that week that I learned with doing the voiceover stuff, local storage stuff. I hadn't really played with any of that. The voiceover was really eye-opening. I didn't realize how much it read out. Sorry.
What, Ashley?
I didn't look at the voiceover part. I saw you referencing it, but how does that work?
You want to do a little demo?
No, actually, no. I don't know if I have is VoiceOver built into Mac? Because I'm like, I don't really have a screen reader. Or is it download one?
Macs do have one built in, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, VoiceOver. I was just wondering, Matthew, because you used it, so you could.
Sure, I could try to spin that up real quick.
I know whenever I think of screen readers, I think of like, for a while it was like a meme / trend to have like a block of emojis and like use the emojis to make a pattern, and there would just be like a phrase in the middle, and having that a screen reader read it is painful. So it just went like smiley face emoji, smiley face emoji, smiley face emoji, tongue out emoji, tongue out emoji, tongue out emoji, until it got to that little bit of text in the middle, and I'm like, oh, didn't even think about that. What a nightmare.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's such a big thing. Like we're trying to do a lot of accessibility stuff in my work, and I feel like I just need to be more in that game. It's so important. Like, funny.
Apparently, like even like when always on Twitter, shows and put too much time on Twitter. But whenever like somebody has like a fancy script on Twitter, like that doesn't read. Like it just literally becomes gibberish on screen readers. They're like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I know there's a shortcut to it, but I forgot. That was it. Command F5. So it is going to talk a lot, so just a warning. Let's see if it starts straight away. Nope.
VoiceOver on Chrome, React app, Google Chrome window, React app, selected tab. You are currently on a tab inside of a group. To select this option, press Control Option Space. To exit this group, press Control Option Shift up arrow.
Is that reading on your side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Close icon button. You are currently on a tab inside of a group. To select this option, press Control Option Space. To exit this group, press Control Option Shift up arrow. 15. Set how frequently the app will fetch new places. Values are in seconds. Slider. You are currently in a group. To exit this group, press Control Option Shift up arrow.
So there was a way where it automatically started at the top and then just went down every one of them, not just the tab ones. Do you know how to make it do that, Andrew? Or
I don't know. How did you get to the slider? Did you hit tab?
I hit tab, yeah.
Is it because the modal's open?
You are currently on a tab inside of a group. To select this option, press Control Option Space. To exit this group, press Control Option Shift up arrow.
Let me see if I can just do it real quick. If not, I'll give up.
VoiceOver off.
Pretty cool though. Once it hit the actual range element, it gave a nice description of what it was for.
VoiceOver on Chrome. You are now connected to Hangouts. Close icon button. Close icon
there we
image.
Go.
Heading level 1. Settings. Set how frequently the app will fetch new places. Values are in seconds. No delay is best when traveling by car. Image. A 15-second delay is best when traveling by bicycle. Image. A 30-second delay is best when traveling by foot. Image. 15. Set how frequently the app will fetch new places. Values are in seconds. Slider. Current fetch frequency selection by number of seconds. Group. 15. Center on me button. Center on me. VoiceOver off.
All right, there we go.
Wow.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah. That was nice.
Why did you try the voiceover sooner? Was it just that this was more of a descriptive piece?
Sorry, what was the question?
Why didn't we apply the voiceover on the buttons and stuff? Is it that there's more in this to digest, I guess?
That's a good question. I mean, we could. Most of the buttons and stuff should be pretty, like by default, should be pretty accessible because it'll say button and then it'll read the button text, you know? Like in this case, a range slider is a pretty complicated piece of UI. So, and you know, it's not obvious that what a 15 does, right? Unless you kind of describe it for the user. So,
yeah, that's really cool.
It might be cool to go, now that we've heard it in action, like go back to the code and just show like where those phrases show up in the code, like how we got that to show up to happen.
You want me to open it back up?
Yeah, if you don't mind, let's share your screen really quick and show it.
Yeah, I don't mind. That was.
I wonder, is there a way you can slow him down a bit? It's a little bit.
VoiceOver? People who use VoiceOver all the time are going about 10 times that fast. They're flying through it. Yeah.
I think there are some there's some speed settings. Yeah, so it read the button.
Yeah.
It read the image, the alt here, the close icon. It read the header settings, the label, and then it read each one of these alts.
Amazing. Cool.
And then the ARIA label was one of the additions as well that Andrew had recommended. I was actually looking for a different element or tag than div for this one, but I couldn't find anyone that seemed to make sense.
I can't think of one either. So it's probably fine.
Mhm.
But yeah, nice work.
True. Yeah, well done.
Cool. All right. I will I will tonight go and review a bunch of PRs since I'm the bottleneck and what's going on. See if we can
I
get some
think
of that stuff
also like
merged.
if the PR's been out for a while, sometimes I forget too. If you could just like call me out in the Slack and be like, "Hey, you didn't review my PR," I'll be like, "Okay, I'll go do that right now."
Yeah, same.
Yeah, we just need to clean up a few things.
Yeah, I think the bottlenecking accidentally occurred just because of forgetfulness. Like we
Mhm.
didn't move everything across, so Andrew didn't know there were things to review. We forgot to move our things, all that
Yeah.
good stuff. So
Then
nudges
first-
always help.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Seeing this is like, oh yeah, I got work to do. When it's all over here, I'm kind of like, I don't know, do they need me or not yet? So cool. So I don't know if y'all had a chance to kind of look at this, even scan this article at all before the meeting, but it's a pretty nice article on, for Kanban, sort of what are some of the things that teams would do in order to kind of just be sort of checking in and making sure that things are going as expected. So are y'all familiar with the concept of a stand-up? Is that something that you've heard of
Yeah.
before?
Yeah.
Okay, so most teams, teams that are sort of physically co-located, usually do a daily stand-up where once everybody rolls in, a lot of tech companies, it's around 10 a.m. They'll like stand in a circle and everyone goes around and kind of, answers a few questions. In a Scrum setting, it's the sort of classic set of questions is, what did you do yesterday? What are you going to do today? And what blockers are there for you? So like what things are preventing you from getting the thing done? And that's sort of a typical stand up. And you're supposed to, a big, as big as a team can get in Scrum, the stand up should never last more than 10 or 15 minutes. It's supposed to be really fast, just quickly share status. And then people go off and solve problems outside of the Scrum, like you don't do it there. In Kanban, well, actually in remote orgs, sometimes they'll do daily stand-ups. Sometimes they'll do asynchronous stand-ups. So my team actually we do a daily sort of stand-up, but it's more, it's less like kind of what did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? What are your blockers? And it's more about just what our really single work focus question is, what's your top priority today? We do ask, is there anything preventing you from making progress? But, it's sort of just kind of, it's helpful for me as a manager, especially just to get a read on the team. Like what are, if you can't get anything else done today, what is that person trying to do? And then is there any way that I can kind of help them, get an impediment out of the way or something? Some teams don't, like we actually do that every day asynchronously. And then once a week we do a social stand-up. So we just kind of get together because we're remote and we, don't always get to see each other's faces every day. So we'll kind of just do, it's just 15 minutes of just getting on and just talking about anything other than work. It's nice. And then we have a once a month team lunch that we do online, like where we have like a team budget for once in a while kind of getting food. So we'll kind of do that. But yeah, so most teams, they do stand-ups daily, but it's not a hard requirement. And in Kanban, so I'm actually fairly new to Kanban. We've only been using it for about 2 months, I guess. And I'm kind of still learning that there are different questions you ask in a Kanban setting. So we aren't doing sort of daily stand-ups, or I guess like our weekly call is the closest thing we have to a stand-up, but something we might think about kind of using these kinds of questions when we do talk. And we could even kind of every couple of days have these just like be populated into the channel, and just each person maybe quickly just like write a few words about it. So in Kanban, it's important to know if there's any work that's going on that's not reflected on the board. So the whole idea of these methodologies is to give visibility to the work. So again, as a manager, like it's important for me to know what's actually being done so that I can help people not be trying to kill themselves to get everything done. If they're taking on side quests, if people are coming to them directly and asking for work and they're saying yes, those are the kinds of things as a manager I could be helping that person say yes, but not right now, or no, that's another group's job, or like all kinds of things. I can kind of help people sort of keep the work that they have to do kind of focused. So I think we kind of answered this one earlier. Like we looked at our board and we kind of got things back into a good state. I don't know that anybody's like we don't have the problem here of like other people are coming to you and asking for you to do stuff or anything like that. Like we're only 5 people trying to get something done. So, but I mean, I'll ask that, I guess, is there anything that are there any, like, I guess one thing that wasn't on the board was, I fixed those vulnerabilities, like that NPM surfaced. So that's an example of some work that got done, never showed up on the board. So it's not going to figure into our metrics or anything like that. Is there anything else going on that, like any other things
Working
people
on that API thing that we talked about a few weeks ago, I just kind of got put on the side burner. I'm still looking into that. So
okay. Yeah. All right. That's a good one. That actually, do you think that should be a card on the board?
It might be. I feel like it's, unless someone has experience with it before, it might be too big for one card.
That's a good call. Yeah. Once it's on the board, then we could have a discussion about the size of it and maybe how do we break it down.
Okay, we could do that.
Can I ask Andrew what the vulnerabilities were? I kind of missed that as well yesterday.
Oh yeah, I just when I did NPM update or whatever I did, I don't know what I did. NPM told me that there were 2 vulnerabilities. One was, I don't know, deep in some dependency, there's some HTTP proxy package, and it had the ability to be, it was like vulnerable to like a denial of service attack or something, and they had some mitigation that they had put in for that. So that was one of them. And then the other one was much less severe. It was, what was it? It was really like it was almost like a warning. It wasn't really a strictly, it was like a level 1 or something, like the weakest kind of vulnerability. But it was prototype pollution. So, in JavaScript, you have the concept of like every object has a prototype chain. And you're not supposed to actually directly alter the prototype. Like if you want to add some functionality to something, you do it in a different way anyway. Apparently some package had, a couple of things in there that were adding to the prototype for something, and I guess they fixed that. That's, to me, a pretty minor vulnerability, but it was easy enough to fix. So,
generally speaking, in terms of packages, like, should you try and limit how many packages you use in an app so that it's not like bringing all these different ideas and contradicting itself and things like that?
Yeah, in theory. However, good luck with that. React itself probably, how many dependencies does React have? If you look at the graph, it's like 1,000 dependencies or something, so you're, as soon as you're using React, you're kind of screwed anyway. So that's why when I do personal projects, if I can help it, I avoid any frameworks, and I just write the minimum stuff I need to do the thing I want to do. And it's beautiful. It's like, so little code. I love it.
I feel like that's the JavaScript joke though, isn't it? It's like there's always memes about how many packages or like how many dependencies can you shove into one tiny project that renders like one page.
Right. Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of the curmudgeons like me who complain about this world that we've built for ourselves. We can't even build a web page without like installing a million things and having Webpack running and all this kind of stuff, I should honestly just like take you on a tour of the blog that I wrote, the blog software I just wrote for myself, and just to show you how simple it is. It's so simple, like so little code. For another day. Anyway, so it'd be good to put your API work on the board, and then we can have a grooming discussion about how would we break it down. So there's a type of thing that we haven't done in any Collab Lab project so far, which is called a spike. So, you have epics and stories and tasks and spikes. And a spike is generally where there are a bunch of unknowns, or there's kind of unknown scope, or not sure how we'd solve this thing. And so what you do is you time box an investigation into that thing and try to learn what you can about it and try to uncover the unknowns so that you can then have a discussion about, you know, what is the actual scope of the fix or the improvement. So what we could do here, maybe the thing to do is to put a spike on the board. And we'll say, you know, we could time box it to, I mean, it could be like, you know, a pair could take the spike for a week and see like, what would it take to kind of implement the proxy in Netlify, you know, do some research, write up your findings, make a recommendation at the end about like, I think we should or shouldn't do this. And if we do it, like, here's links to the documentation, here's, you know, sort of the approach. And that could be a task on the board. And if it, you know, if it comes back like the suggestion is, yes, we should do it. And, you know, it probably means, you know, a pair could probably get it done in a week or whatever. I mean, you know, whatever we find out the scope is, then we could schedule that work and kind of decide as a group what the priority of it was.
Yeah, just to update everyone, if we don't have time for it today, what I think the writing of the API code is not the difficult part. For me, it's getting it to run locally on the same local host, even though it's on a different port, and then actually structuring it so that it's deployable to Netlify, so that it's on the same, you call it? Yeah, on the same host.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what's been the most confusing to me, because for me, whenever I've set a proxy in React, all of a sudden my React app doesn't render because it doesn't get served, right? So I'm still having issues trying to serve it from that local API too.
Mm-hmm.
So just so that everyone knows where I'm at and trying to figure it out. So if anyone has any tips, thank you.
Cool. That's good to know. It's good to understand what the actual kind of what the blocker is. All right. See what good stuff that question prompted. Then actually I picked and chose between those questions and these questions. So I'm actually going to switch over to here. So and then the next question that they kind of suggest is, you know, what are we looking to finish next as a team? So just so we're all kind of focused on the right stuff. There's a lot less danger in our situation of not focusing on the right stuff, but you know, like at Zapier, like there's a million things you could be doing, and you know, there's project work, but there's like working groups and all these kinds of things. So anyway, so we kind of try to decide as a team, like what is our priority and what are we kind of trying to get done next. So in Kanban, there is a bias towards, like, it's almost always a higher priority to finish something than to start something new. So as a group, I mean, I know for me, like it's very clear kind of for me that, you know, I need to review these things so we can get them merged, and we can that kind of unblocks you all from kind of taking on the next things. But what are the next things that we want to finish as a team?
Does this include?
I think it's just like,
yeah.
Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Okay, I was gonna say, does this include what's already kind of on the issue board?
Yeah. So I mean, one thing, you know, as a group, we could decide that that Jen's idea of running the proxy on Netlify, like that's the highest priority thing, and that's what, as a team, what we want to focus on for the next week. That could be a decision. It could be, you know, things like are we going to spend time now to get that center marker not jumping and get that just to be stationary? Or are we just going to defer that to a future issue?
Gotcha.
The things that we kind of have in flight, like what do we want to focus on and make sure we get done next? Like what's going to be the next like highest value thing to deliver to our users?
I think getting master to work.
Getting the pin dragging around.
Just like in general, to get it to where it works so that the stuff that we build on top of it is not bottlenecked by it. Because I think, especially because like our issue, Amber, is just like weeks old, because like it was just originally, I think we had jumped ahead or something like that. And we were like, oh, it'll eventually link up. But then it was never linked up. And then it just became old really fast kind of thing.
So yeah, that would just be like pretty much clearing everything that we have on the board and
I
getting
agree.
it all merged. I think would be our priority.
General cleanup
is
and
like-
maybe.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I think app.js and app.css has some stuff, but basically some of my code that shouldn't be in there. So I think it's just some cleaning up of master, I would say. Merging and cleaning up of stuff. Spring clean, summer clean.
Summer clean.
It's almost summer, right? Summer starts a week from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
I
read
always forget it's supposed to be halfway through June.
cool stuff.
Okay, so so getting what's on the board currently merged and kind of working is the top priority at the moment.
Yeah, I would even go so far as to say like whatever pairs we have this week, let's not even take on new issues until like literally everything is closed before we open
agree.
the next ones.
Sounds like a good move.
Because
Yeah.
we've kind of accumulated a couple weeks worth of stuff.
Yeah. So that's clearly is these three things. Does that also include? Oh, that includes this one. This is the
That
panel
one,
end.
I think. Wait, has it been so long? Am are we pairing?
We are pairing again.
You're
That's
pairing
how
on
long
it
it's
again?
been.
It's been
all right.
so long.
That's
So
so
just for the
funny.
record, my control chart. Well,
Are we
actually,
the
it's gonna-
14-day one?
Well, I was going to say it doesn't include things that are in progress. So but we just moved that back to in progress. Anyway, it'll be fun for me to try and figure out.
And the funny thing is, like, if we were moving forward, we finally hit the issue where it would link up. We just still haven't gotten it together yet.
Oh, right.
But it's fine. We're gonna do it. It's like I have to.
But I think that's a great goal for the next few days. Like I'll put my reviews in. I might have a couple of comments, and then just try to get all that stuff merged, because that's a lot of work to get merged into master and have everything still work, right? Like, and there's probably gonna be conflicts and stuff. It'll be a bit of work to get all that in.
I don't know if it's a good goal, but I don't know if everyone how they feel about meeting up on like Wednesday or something, and just like after we've had time to digest everything, and then just like merge everything together as a team. Take like 15 minutes to do that.
Yeah, that sounds like the best way to avoid like catastrophe / extra work
/ like being like, what? It doesn't work? What?
Yeah, and then you got 8 eyes on it as well. That's good.
Okay, sounds
Yeah,
good.
no, I think if we all get together for the, to solve the conflicts, it's definitely a good 1 week chunk like goal.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. In my last job, when I first started it, every time like I was doing merges and having conflicts with the one other guy I was working with, we would pair up and make sure I didn't ruin any of his code. Or I think get all the contributors in would be a smart idea.
I think the only bottleneck though, Andrew, I think it's also like I really have no idea. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I have no idea who's taking what, or like if I was on something last week, am I still continuing it this week, or did someone else pick it up? And I think I don't know how everyone else feels, but that's how I feel. So maybe like making sure, even if it's not during the meeting, like right after it, or Monday morning, being like, I don't mind being assigned work, but I just kind of like feel like it's a little bit of a free-for-all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the all group meetings are good. It's because then you can kind of talk about it, and so I would even push that all meeting to like tomorrow instead of Wednesday, and actually just having 15-20 minutes before we break into our pairs and just talking about the week ahead. Maybe if people can make it, I would say do it tomorrow, because then we can.
Sure, we can try that. You can try
Yeah,
schedule
sounds
that
good.
in the Slack after this.
We're kind of
Yeah.
way over time, aren't we? So we could maybe do what I was thinking. We could maybe do a little bit of that even right now. I mean, at least as far as like, you know, if I have comments on this one, like who's going to take it? Is it like, are the assignments here all accurate? I don't see Matthew on anything, right? So it's probably not. These aren't probably accurate
All
anymore.
of these are she's
Probably
really
not then.
Yeah. So
So, one other thing too, for the branch names, I'm wondering if we could stop putting our initials in them because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Kanban,
Oh,
it
'cause
doesn't
of
really
Kanban.
stay.
mhm.
So then I get confused and I forget
That's a good point.
which branch it is. So the initials are in the front, and I'm just kind of like, which one is it?
Good idea.
call,
Yeah.
I
So
think.
that's a really good call. So I think, you know, when I do this project with future cohorts, we'll start off in Kanban world, and so like the guidance in the project brief will be different about how to name branches. But
Mhm.
how do we want to
Yeah.
do that? Like what? Like what do we
Just
want?
like any descriptive name, maybe like 3 to 4 words long, or like anywhere from 2 to 4 words long of what you're actually working on, I think is good enough.
Would it be
kinda
possible
like-
to include the issue number in the branch name, maybe?
Oh yeah,
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 do
we can
that
do
for
that.
sure.
Okay.
Which number do we want to go by though? Because there's the GitHub number and there's the
Oh,
title
yeah,
number.
you're right.
I'd probably say the one that links it.
Oh, so the actual,
So the GitHub number,
like in this case,
the number 7 then instead of number 5.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine. You know, these those numbers are there to make it very clear, like what order they were kind of intended to be worked on. And but as we can see, since this one's still hanging out, and other work's still getting merged, it's not strict at all, right? So, what I could do, we could actually take the numbers off the numbers that I put on them, and just keep them in order over here based on how we think they should kind of be taken up.
I think you could keep the order, but if you just take the hashtag out so that they don't both have a hashtag, I think that'll be clearer. I don't know what other people think.
Yeah, I
Are
agree.
you okay with me just taking the whole thing out like that?
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
cause any problems
That
or?
too.
No problems.
I'm just thinking that if I guess on the issues page it would stay the same order, but someone might accidentally fat finger it and then like change the order of them.
You could use lettering, perhaps.
Yeah, I just don't. I think like we don't number anything at work. You know what I mean? Like they're all just the names of something, and we talk about like, you know, are there any dependencies here? Does this one have to come before that one or something? And otherwise, they're just in priority order.
I guess yeah. In Kanban, it doesn't really matter, does it? We just have to be sure to tell what issues block this one.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
actually a something for future cohorts too. Is I just need to be very clear about like this has to come before this other one or something. This is kind of exciting. So I'm going to go through and just like take the numbers off.
Yeah, they go.
Yeah, I think that was even confusing for like the shopping list one because there were like 2 numbers.
Yeah.
Toss the numbers away altogether.
I just like I would just put hashtag in GitHub and try to find the right one. I was like, I don't want to have to deal with typing the right number.
All right. I'm not going to go back and do all the other ones though. God, it's just so clean. It's got one number. That's amazing. Okay, cool. Maybe I will. These ones that are still in progress, I'll do that too as well. Yeah. Always fun watching someone else edit a bunch of stuff. Okay. Cool. All right. Awesome. That's a great improvement. Good job, team. So now it's clear what the issue number means here. And a little short description. That's not what I meant to do. Anyway, I'll figure that out later. Are we tracking things to the right level of granularity is the other question.
Can I get more like specifics on the question? Like, is that saying that like, are we looking at our tasks and like looking at, like, are we going to big picture? Is that essentially what that question's asking?
Yeah, it's kind of like, are the issues that are on the board, it's like basically, are they not right sized? Are they too big?
Oh, gotcha.
Are they not going to fit into our target for how long we think they should take?
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to go first, Ashley?
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about it before, that some of the issues could be broken up into 2 different issues and things like that. So I think what I'm finding is it's always like a tiny part, and I think maybe we should just merge and then, as you said, take that tiny part and add it in to another part or create its own thing. So yeah, I think the issues could be broken up.
The one that's sticking out to me right now is just that panning one. It's just like,
Yeah, that was a monster.
Yeah, that was a chunker. Probably could have been 2.
Yeah, for sure.
One other question I want to ask is, I'm wondering if 7 days is a little bit too much for one issue, because it seems like for Kanban we have to spend more time talking to each other, and like I think communication takes up a lot more time in the coordination of this execution style. And so I'm wondering if you should like just knock off like 1 AC or like just like an hour or 2 of work from each thing as like a right sizing metric, just because it always seems like our issues are behind by like a day or 2. They spill over into the next week. And I think that's part of the reason why.
Yeah.
I could see taking the issues as I've written them and literally trying to make it 1 issue per AC wherever possible, right? And then it'll be clear that like, well, you can't really do this AC without this AC. So then you group them into stories, but only because you have to. And otherwise, they're like really small pieces of work, right? So maybe in a week.
Like kind of against what you were talking about last week.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, so that as a pair, you might take something and finish it like right in the session, and then be like, oh, let's take the next one. Maybe get 2 or 3 things done in your week, right? And you have like multiple issues flowing through the board. It'd be actually kind of that would be like, for my team at work, that would be pretty radical. Like you'd be like, no, we don't. That's just too much overhead in terms of keeping the process going. But I think the way that we're working, where it's a little artificial and you only have 5 hours a week and stuff, like it might actually be pretty effective.
Also, if we want to keep the whole like story aspect too, and maybe not necessarily close out issues every week, maybe we can make it like a standard practice to utilize those like checkboxes in the actual issue to be like, this pair, we finished this, these 2 checkboxes link to another PR, and then anyone else who wants to finish up this issue, please do the other ones that are not checked.
I like that idea. I think that's
because there's just like, it's not really clear who's working on what's been done. I spent like half an hour yesterday freaking out because I didn't know what was going on. I think it's just because we didn't write it down. We might have like talked to each other separately about it, but not all together.
Yeah, I think that's what I love, a direct message. My apologies. I'm not always clear, and
and that's totally fine. But I think because we're doing Kanban now, it's a little bit more wild west.
Yeah. It forces communication.
Oh, sorry, you have to talk to me.
Sorry.
Good. It's all good stuff.
And I think like being diligent with because it does have like the assignees like for each issue. And I think sometimes when we leave one, we forget to maybe like unsign or reassign someone else to it. Being diligent with that could be
Yeah,
useful,
'cause
like limit confusion of who's working on what.
yeah. That's another approach you could take, Andrew, is that like the pair that you're working with, it's a 2-week thing. So that's another thing you could do rather than swapping every week. If an issue is open still or something like that, I don't know. I don't know how that works, but
Or even sometimes I forget who was working on what and where the code originally came from. So maybe like not taking yourself off the assignees thing, even though like you're not working on it that week, so that like people remember who to ask, or putting it, you know, you might unassign yourself, but you're in the documentation somewhere.
Yeah, so like maybe even a comment on like the PR or something. Just be like, this is what I did. Ping me if you have questions type thing.
Maybe having like a special handoff markdown that's like a template for people to use like at the end of the week when you want to hand off the issue. Kind of like how we have with the PRs would be nice.
Is there another option besides assignees? I know there's like a couple there that like I never use. There's like reviewers, assignees. I guess not.
No, just labels.
Yeah, no, I like that. That brings me back to when I used to work the front desk at a hotel, and at the end of every shift would write down the open thing.
Like what? Here, these are all the things you need to know. Here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is working. We're stuck
this
on
person is in this room is a jerk.
Get that a lot.
I can imagine.
That's a really good idea. Yeah.
Transfers.
To a repository. Okay, never mind. We could send these all to TCL8, have them do
it. Pawn
like,
it off.
Oh my goodness.
It could on.
TCL8 already. That's amazing.
Yeah, right?
Like so long ago.
Are you gonna have like a little party once you hit double digits?
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah,
a cute 10 party. I'm into it.
Oh yeah, I like it. So actually, can I? Well, let's see. Anything else on this stuff?
I was just gonna say real quick. I mean, just the comment area could be good for like a handover. Like if you're about to get unassigned, just in the comments.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But having like a markdown in the main of our thing, so that people can just like copy and paste and fill in what their comment should look like. So it's like standardized.
Comment on the draft PR. Comment on the issue.
Oh, no, comment on the issue. Sorry, that's what I meant.
Okay.
I've done that before. An old checkbox.
So you're asking for what's kind of a good template for a handoff?
Something like what's finished, what's not finished, maybe what did we have difficulty with, what are some resources that I was looking into to solve this problem, kind of things.
Yeah.
So people don't have to like redo a lot of the stuff that you were doing. Just like, oh, name of the previous pair working on it, maybe. I don't know. Do you all have any other like things that you would like to know if someone handed it off to you?
That seems like everything you'd need.
It's a good list. Right off the top of your head. Love it. Good job.
Comprehensive. Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, and then maybe a link to the PR where they finished all the stuff. That's it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I like that. Man, this is fruitful. This is really good stuff. I'm actually really like, we're way over time, so I'm not gonna, but I like, we're actually thinking of revamping the application process and selection process for cohorts. So maybe next time when we meet, I might run some things by y'all and see what you think. Maybe a little advisory committee for me.
Brain trust. Brain trust it up.
I
Yeah,
love it.
exactly. Cool.
Board meeting.
Yeah, we've had 2 board meetings now, actually, 2 actual board meetings. We are hopefully going to get that sweet nonprofit status pretty soon.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That nice funding.
Yeah.
Mhm. And we can raise money. We can like, sorry.
Just the meeting with Lisa during the week was really nice, actually.
Nice.
It was great.
I
Just to
miss
give
mine.
feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
It's great.
Yeah, she's great.
Great.
I can't wait to get her actually mentoring a cohort. She's just been a little too busy with all COVID stuff and everything else going on. So
She's a lovely person.
I know we're over time, but I just have a quick question. Once you have a nonprofit status, what kind of things do you want to do in Collab Lab that you wanted to like add that you couldn't before? Since everything was like, you didn't have any like money at your disposal, basically.
yeah, I mean, we spent about $1,400 in the last year. And we've had almost exactly $1,400 of income. So it's worked out pretty well so far.
Breaking even, love it.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I want. Because so far it's all been coming out of my pocket, but it's been coming back into my pocket, so it's all good. But yeah, I mean, one thing is we'll upgrade Slack so we have the full history. We will probably at that point be able to fundraise a little bit, so we should have more money to work with, which means that, for instance, like all participants might be able to have a G Suite account, right? So then you'd actually have a collablab.codes email address and have like, we could like do a lot more stuff with kind of G Suite tools if we wanted to. Probably a higher priority than that actually is like a team account on Netlify, so you like people can actually go in and play with the builds, like the stuff you're doing with the API, like you would have
And like deploying and stuff.
or direct access to Netlify. So there's a bunch of tools that we'll be able to kind of give access or like have better sort of fine-grained access to. But there's like programmatic stuff too, like I still don't quite know how I want us to scale the thing up. Like there's like, so far it's very high touch. It's very like who gets in is like, it's been very kind of deliberate, like who the mentors are, all kind of stuff. Like trying to think through the list of mentors. I think there's maybe one mentor that I didn't know before we kind of started doing this, right? Like they're all people that I know. Like I've been trying to build this in a very deliberate way. Well, I want to scale it up too, so that like maybe there are collab labs going on all over the world, maybe, right? Like, because like right now we can only service certain time zones because of who I know, they're all in the same time zones, right?
Or
like,
even like different languages.
Right. Yeah. Actually, Alejandro is, we're starting to talk about him running one, like a South American one.
That'd be dope.
That'd be cool. So,
That would.
and it's not that those things necessarily take a lot more money, but there are like having the nonprofit status means that people can give you money and they get a break on their taxes, right? So
it like incentivizes them in a certain in a way.
Like we have GitHub sponsors, but it goes to me, and so it's not something that people can write off. So I haven't been pushing it very much, But as soon as we get that 501c3, we'll set up a proper one for the organization, and like receipts and everything for people, and then we'll start pushing the sponsors and stuff. So.
That's awesome. Do you want to make like more? Are you going to have more pilots to where you want to add more projects eventually too?
Yeah, maybe eventually.
I think 201 and then a 301.
Yeah, there might be a 301 in the future. Not sure what that would look like quite yet, but because it's about the collaboration, right? Not the. I mean, this project is clearly a little more difficult than the shopping list, but I think like having that one be sort of Scrum-like and having this one be sort of Kanban-like, and then I don't know what the next step beyond that is.
Another flavor of some kind.
Yeah, it could be, or a little more self-organizing, or maybe it's more something from scratch and you come up with an idea and work with a designer. I mean, there could be, a lot of ways.
That could even be like a whole like, what's the word I'm looking for? Simulated like business pitchy type thing.
Oh yeah,
if you wanted to go that way.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. So I don't know yet. If y'all have ideas, like I think once we get this one kind of up and running as a regular thing, then probably like ask everybody like if they have ideas for what taking it to the next level would be.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But let us know if you need any help with anything.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We do.
You want
We
to
had our-
Consider me informed.
we at the last board meeting we decided on, like, we created a couple committees. So we already had one committee from the first board meeting, which is like a website committee. So Mike Ramirez has been he's just been making updates to the website up till now, but like we have a design brief and we actually were in touch with the designer, but he kind of flaked out. And like I do want to do, like, we need to update the website to more accurately reflect what we're doing. At some point we'll have nonprofit status, we'll have like a donations page, all that kind of stuff. So I want it to be content managed instead of just, hand coded HTML and CSS. So that's one committee. And then I think Stacy is going to be asking if anybody wants to like be our like social committee, like social media committee. So far the Twitter presence is this guy.
I was wondering who was behind the Twitter.
That's me so far. Trying to throw in as many gifts as I can and hope for the best. Yeah, so there's a lot more we could be doing with social. Although Twitter is a great channel. We could probably do stuff with Instagram and some other things too. And there's I can't remember what the other committees are. They're not as fun. I think there's stuff like there's going to be a code of conduct committee and stuff. But you have to be one of the responders to be on that committee, I think. But wherever we can, like what I would like to do is have alums be sort of advisors to these committees, if not participants in the committees. Just keep you all involved and like just you've been through cohorts and stuff, so you know what people are going to be going through and all that stuff. So we're really way over time, but we're gonna revamp the application selection process. And one idea I had with that was to maybe have a couple of alums help with the selection of future people. So,
yeah.
Are you planning on interviewing people or?
Not interviewing, but we have to. Not exactly. We need to review like the stuff that they submit.
Their responses.
Yeah. And anyway, the idea is that we will probably be moving to a thing where we open up applications for a week, and whoever applies during that week are the people that are in consideration for specific cohorts that are coming up.
That makes sense.
Yeah, as opposed to just being on this like nebulous wait list, and like it's 3 months pass and you're like, oh yeah, I remember what Collab Lab is. Yeah, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we can talk more about that next time since we've been meeting for an hour and a half now. But this is super great. I mean, some really awesome feedback on our processes and stuff. So I'll throw some of those things back in the channel so we don't forget them. But yeah, nice work. And I promise to review some PRs tonight. Awesome. Cool. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Night, y'all.
Bye.